10 o'clock. I'm calling to order the Gilliam County Court regular meeting, January 22nd, 2025. A quorum has been established. We'll now have the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. I do have a revision to the agenda. I'll ask the two commissioners if they do as well, but we're going to move up Kari Hayter because she has court later on today for the Justice Court. Do there be any other revisions or additions? No?
Yes, Herb Winters will not be here today.
Okay, we're going to remove from the agenda the update on the virtual fence from Herb Winters. He's going to appear at a later meeting. Okay, come on up. Judge Hayter.
Have a seat there.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Judge and Commissioners. I appreciate the court allowing me to go first. I have criminal court at 11 o'clock. This is a brief update of the Gilliam County Justice Court. So the Justice Court is staffed by myself. I have been the Justice of the Peace since June of this year. And we also have a court administrator and docket clerk. Our court administrator, Kayla, she was the docket clerk and she was promoted to court administrator in August of this year after the longtime administrator retired. And then the newest addition to our team is Tessa. In September, she is our docket clerk and now Justice Court is fully staffed. We've had a little bit of personnel transition and we're all just learning as we go and taking trainings, and we're making good progress. So Justice Court handles a brief overview. Justice Court handles misdemeanor crimes, violations such as traffic citations, and civil cases such as small claims and evictions. Most offenses cited into Justice Court originate on Interstate 84. For calendar year 24, Justice Court handled a total of 2,299 cases, of which 2,279 were traffic-related offenses, including 20 misdemeanors. Justice Court feels the need for these lower-level crimes and violations to be handled in an efficient manner. You see that's quite the volume that we process. Justice Court also collects the fines associated with these citations. And I'll explain to you, there is a fine citation split. So if a citation is written by a Gilliam County deputy, 100% of that fine is turned over to Gilliam County. If a citation is written by Oregon State Police, there is a fine split. 50% of that fine goes to Gilliam County and 50% of that fine goes to the state. So by having the existence of the Justice Court, 100% of the fines written by deputies in Gilliam County, or the fine is collected and retained by Gilliam County. So I'll give you a little bit of more information on that. For calendar year 24, Justice Court total receipts for revenue collected was $525,000. The county portion was approximately $404,000. And then for comparison, for the calendar year 23, total receipts was $444,000 with a county portion of $328,000. And in calendar year 23, Justice Court processed 1,920 cases, just for reference for comparison of the 2 years. So this fiscal year, where we're at in Justice Court is we've had total receipts of $214,000 from July 1/24 to December 31/24, with a county share of $166,000 being turned over. So this is 65% of the budgeted revenue within the Gilliam County budget. So we're exceeding that. And looking historically, I've looked about 40% of the revenue that Justice Court collects occurs July to December, and then about 60% occurs January to June. So we're really on pace with our citations and things to be competitive with what happened in calendar year 24 and probably exceed calendar year of 23. Are there any questions on those numbers? I know it's a lot to throw out there.
Sounds like customers are out there.
Yes, yes. I don't know if they're willing customers, but they're customers.
You would think that the summer months would be the majority of it.
Yes, and once spring, picks comes, that's when travel increases. And, part of our revenue, it is linked to the number of citations written, but we have processes for collections. So just because that fine's due, it doesn't mean that person is going to pay it in a timely manner. So then if a citation maybe is written in 23, we might not fully collect that till 24. So, I mean, the numbers, it is comparing apples to apples, but there are a few caveats within those calculations. And I'll just touch on really quickly, I missed filing it for this county court, but on the February agenda, you will see my request for the court to approve 2025 pro tem judges. Pro tem judges are needed in my absence, which I anticipate to be very rare. We know the justice court schedule. If I'm going to be out of town for some reason, we do block that date off. So mainly we will be utilizing them if I have a conflict of interest. For example, in the summer, I was wrapping up a traffic trial and the officer and I witnessed a semi truck going over the curb at Bank of Eastern Oregon. That defendant pled not guilty, so I had to recuse myself from that and allow a pro tem to handle that case because I was a witness. So what I'll be requesting the proposed judges for approval will be Robin Ordway, Wheeler County Justice of the Peace, our court administrator, Kayla Roush, and Anastasia Meisner. She is a Washington County pro tem judge. So I know this has been a little fast. So I'd like to invite you, if you'd like to come to Justice Court to discuss any of these numbers or to see what we do, I would welcome you guys to come in and meet the rest of the staff and see our operations. We'll be having court again at 11 and then trials this afternoon. Are there any other questions I can answer while I'm here?
Alright,
No,
Okay.
thank you.
thank you. It sounds like you're hitting the ground running and you understand how it all works in the justice court. Good for you.
Yes, yes.
Mhm. Good.
It's been a transition and we're grateful to have, Kayla was there as docket clerk for over a decade, but she too, even though there was cross training, she's transitioned to a whole new position and Tess is new and I've been newer as well. So, but we're all hitting our stride and I went to judicial college twice in Reno to the special districts and graduated from that. And then also a 4-day course on traffic, which the judicial college there reimbursed my lodging and travel. So it was at a very minimal cost for that. And Kayla has been she went to the fall of WACA, the Oregon Court Administrators, and she signed up to go to the spring of WACA. And I've been attending the Oregon Judges Association Fall Conference and Spring Conference. So we're all about continuing education and being up to date with best practices and policies and of course, Oregon statutes.
Yeah.
And
Because the statutes do require the judicial college
Yes.
to attend a judicial college within a year,
within
I
a year.
believe.
Yes, I did that
Okay.
in October.
And then there's a statutory requirement for continuing education as well.
Yes, and that will be probably within the next month. You'll be getting a letter from me stating my continuing education and that I've met those requirements for quite a bit. I've done quite a bit of education,
Okay.
so I'm good to go there.
Good.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You guys have a good day.
Okay. Right, next on the agenda, correspondence, public comment. In your packet, you have correspondence from Hanford's side public comment notice. There's also a City of Lonerock correspondence from Mayor Jack Stanley Forrest. There's also a capital investment grant program final report. And the rest of these are going to be individuals addressing the county court. Are there any questions regarding the correspondence included? Or any comments?
I just, what, on the city of Lone Rock, are they gonna be asking for help with this, or
They haven't contacted us at all
They
other
have
than this
money?
correspondence.
Okay,
Mhm.
they just sent this,
Right.
Dewey doesn't know anything.
And the only reason they included is because the county owns.
The city of Lone
Yes.
Rock, they sent us correspondence.
I haven't seen the correspondence.
We'll communicate that with you.
Okay.
We'll provide you a copy. And make sure if there's any action we need to take or anything we need to do, we will follow up. Okay. Status report for broadband study and BEAD funding application. Nicolas Green
He's on.
Okay,
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to present today. We're here to give an update on the status of your BTAP funding and to discuss next steps as we prepare for the BEAD application. I'm here with Eric Orton and Kyle Browning and Dan McNeely from the Alice Networks team. And so we'll jointly present today. Anya, I don't know if you're driving, but I'm sending a request to share my screen.
Oh,
Let's see if I can do it. Oh, that worked. Thank you. Let's maximize this. Okay. Can everyone see that? Lots of words on a slide?
yes,
Okay.
there.
Just as a recap, you hired Constructor, now the design team for LS Networks, between 2021 and 2023 to do the initial feasibility study. That study looked countywide and identified 507 potential locations. The FCC and Oregon Broadband Office have continued to refine what they consider to be broadband serviceable locations that are eligible for funding under BEAD. Any prior federal award areas like your South County Enhanced ACAM and RDOF locations were eliminated. When we presented a few months ago, we thought we would be down to 99 eligible locations. And then in December, NTIA, as part of FCC, released a new set of potentially serviceable locations, and that jumped us back up to 438.
Oh,
So, yeah, just hold on tight. I don't know where this will land, but as of right now, we're at 438 unserved locations, and we'll show where those are located within Gilliam County. And as a result of that adjustment, we're looking at potentially 192 miles of new fiber build out. Still working on the estimated cost. We had it at 23 million when we were looking countywide. So it should be significantly less than that, but Ellis is going to work through those cost figures. Fortunately for the pre-qualification phase of BEAD, we do not need to know, we don't have to have final costs or final design. Right now, our work is under the BTAP grant, which was awarded at $150,000. And the original completion deadline was set for the end of December, but we were able to amend that through the end of next month. So there's about $30,000 remaining of grant funding that will be expended over the next 5 weeks to complete what we can for final design. And we'll talk about that a little bit more toward the end. So jumping over to the design overview, we have 3 districts in Gilliam County. Arlington has the majority of locations that are serviceable under the BEAD grant. Which shouldn't be surprising. So we've identified those in red. The Condon School District has some serviceable locations north of the restricted areas. And so those are shown in blue. And then there's a small portion of the Ione School District. The majority of that is in Morrow County, and they intend to apply to service the Ione School District. So I'm showing the green because they are in your county, but you don't need to apply for those because those will be picked up by your neighbors to the east. So we're going to focus on the blue and the red. These next slides just zoom in to show the north part of the county in a little bit more detail. We have about just under 400 serviceable locations in the North County that we could apply for funding through BEAD. Based on that latest update. And then batting cleanup on the areas in the Condon School District, there are 32 potentially serviceable locations, quite a bit more spread out. Go ahead, did you have a question? Okay, the way these applications are structured for BEAD, you have to apply by school district. And so if the county chooses to close the gap for all of these locations, both the blue and the red, then we will be preparing 2 applications. one for each district. One will be significantly larger than the other, but we actually do have to submit two distinct applications. They'll be reviewed and scored separately. I think the next slide, I'm going to hand it off to the LS Networks team just to give you an update on where they're at with the BEAD funding or the BTAP funding and the preliminary design process to date.
Morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? This is Kyle Browning with LS Networks. I'm one of the engineers and designers for this project. Glad to be here providing an update today. So as Nick mentioned, we kind of transitioned. So this is kind of a BTAP and BEAD update. We've kind of transitioned out of BTAP into preparation for the BEAD. So a couple breakdown points here. So the route map and connections, we've expanded that from the original 99 serviceable locations up to the 438. And then majority of those are going to be within the city of Arlington, which while I was out there, notice has fiber to the home deployed. So that's kind of somewhere where I'm looking to see maybe, some of those locations might already have service. We are still working on identifying partner last mile ISPs for this with, kind of input from the county. Overall, the breakdown is about 171 miles of aerial, 21 miles of underground build out that we've estimated to reach these 438 locations. We're also coordinating with Windwave for breakout locations of the leased fiber that the city of Condon has from Arlington to Condon, where we can break out what availability do they have in the existing leased fiber and potential for leasing additional fiber. And so the total infrastructure build will depend on that availability, if we have to overbuild due to constraints, things like that. For the field engineering and data collection, we've have about 78 miles of pole field data collected. So that is kind of our boots on the ground collecting data for the joint use applications with the pole owners, giving us permission to attach. And then we are in the process of QCing that field data we have so far, mainly prioritizing the Pacific Core poles out there because it is a more detailed application than the Columbia Basin. We're also working on the overall network layout and equipment details. We have that about 80% complete. We're just working on the final kind of architecture, where we're going to be placing equipment, power hookups, that kind of thing. And then kind of wrapping this all up, we'll be pulling this all into a new cost estimate with the revised address data and routes. We're also working on validating some of these addresses and identifying some of the cost prohibitive segments and connections. Just as I'm looking at these address points, I know a lot of them are going to be challenged because they're non-serviceable locations, like your grain silos, your hay barns, that kind of thing. So I expect that total number to go down a bit. If you have any questions for me, that's I think most of what we have update-wise.
Great. Thanks,
I will
Kyle.
tell you that the city of Arlington is currently serviced by Arlington TV Co-op with fiber. And I want to verify that that's correct. I don't live in Arlington, but another commissioner does. Is that true?
That is.
Okay. Mr. Wilkins? Okay. All right. So that was the bulk of the difference in the numbers is the city of Arlington.
Yeah, and we're not certain why Arlington is showing up as broadband serviceable locations, because if they're being served by fiber.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Is there any contact we need to help you make with that? We can talk about that later.
Okay.
If
Yep,
you'd
that's
like,
fine.
but any of those details we can help with. And another question I have is the change of the federal administration, will that affect the BEAD funding at all? And is there any adjustments to the original plan, which I understand was fiber to every home, meaning not wireless or other link for the hard to reach areas?
Yeah, it's a great question, and that has come up on the Oregon Broadband Office calls as well. the consultant that they hired, who's helping manage multiple states, multiple state broadband offices as they prepare and deploy their BEAD funding, has been pretty consistent in saying this is strong bipartisan support and has for years. So we don't anticipate a reduction in funding or change in approach. If anything, it could get more streamlined, but because the rulemaking is already completed and we're well into the process, I don't anticipate that adjusting the amount of funding available to the state. I think the award will still go through mostly as programmed. But it is a good question. And the topic of Arlington it was actually probably a good segue into discussing how BEAD will roll out. So we've been working behind the scenes with the judge and your staff to do all the pre-application preparation work that gets us qualified to apply. So just as a reminder, we go through the pre-qualification process to determine our eligibility to apply. And then once you've passed that gate, you're invited to submit an application. So we've been gathering the information we need for the pre-qualification phase. And when we get through that, and then we're invited to apply, there's an extensive due diligence phase where we will actually go through and weed out locations that are already served, that were for some reason picked up as unserved, so that what you negotiate as your final BEAD grant award is truly to eligible locations where we have businesses or residents capable of receiving service that don't have it. So there will be an extensive process over the next 9 to 12 months to get to that final number. I was going to suggest a couple of things, and I left in the packet. I'll scroll down just so you can see it. I left the information we've been gathering, which you can review on your own, but we have all of this now, and I noticed that the Broadband office has posted a draft application, even though the portal's not open yet. So my intent over the next couple of weeks is to actually complete the draft application so that we can just cut and paste into the portal when it's open.
Okay.
And if the court concurs, we would do that for both school districts. We would do one for Gilliam, for the North School District. We'd do one for the South School District, and then we would negotiate both awards as we go through the. You're not under any obligation to accept an award. We can see how that negotiation goes, how much match they're willing to waive, how many of those potentially too high cost to serve locations fall out before the final award is made. So proceeding in the process does not obligate you financially or in any other way to accept an award. What I was going to suggest, though, ORS 279C.115 does allow you as a local contracting authority to continue work under a direct award for engineering services that's already been substantially planned or designed. So in this case, you competed the preliminary engineering and that award was made to LS Networks. We're going to have a gap from March through some date at the end of this calendar year when you have BEAD funding where we're between funding vehicles. And what I would suggest the court consider is a bridge contract for LSN so that they can be available to assist you with that due diligence and technical design review. Over the next 5 weeks, while we still have BTAP funds, we're going to start negotiating with your ISPs so that we can get a draft operating agreement in place and identify which internet service providers would provide service under your 2 applications and the parameters for those so that can be, they'll be essentially be coming onto your team as a partner. And they'll complete as much of the design as they can with that funding that's remaining. But I would recommend probably an offline discussion between the court and your engineers to put a bridge contract in place. That funding will count toward any match you incur, but we will need some technical assistance as we get into those later stages. So just planting that seed for you to think about. But otherwise, I'll have your application for pre-qualification ready to submit when the portal opens, and we'll be coming back to you just to do final review of that. So I think you're in pretty good shape.
Okay. Did you have anything to ask, Mr. Green?
Yeah, I just, on the, so where does Raleigh fit into this with the South? They're not taking care of the South School District?
Right,
or-
Mr. Green, would you address the reason why South Gilliam County School District, meaning the Condon area and South, would not be part of the BEAD funding because a private Raleigh network is putting fiber in? Can you just give an overview of that?
Yeah, prior to the BEAD and what was the award that was done before BEAD, which was called the Broadband Deployment Program, before those two funding vehicles were available, Raleigh had applied for another contract or grant, which is called Enhanced ACAM. And under that federal funding, they're required to provide 100% coverage within the Enhanced ACAM area, which includes all of pretty much the entire South County. So that area is going to be built out by Raleigh as part of their Enhanced ACAM award. Where we could see some potential overlap, they're the closest internet service provider to those remaining blue dots. And they have indicated they would be willing to extend their coverage as a partner ISP for that area. That will be at your discretion who you ultimately want to partner with. We will probably engage with the ISPs that are providing coverage in the north part of the county already, to have them as potential partners for you. But the team you select for both applications is entirely at your discretion. So whichever ISPs are willing to serve, you can negotiate those draft operating agreements. They'll provide information for your application. And then you wouldn't need to make a final decision until you accept your award at the end of the year.
Okay. All right. So we need to make a decision about an application for both school districts and eventually, but we can just take a consensus at this point in time because it wasn't agendized. And the other matter is that the bridge contract, which in order to keep momentum, we need to make sure we have that going with LS Network. Is that correct, Mr. Green?
Yep.
Okay.
That is correct. So if
Okay.
you discuss those, I think that's the end of our presentation, unless you have any other questions for us.
Okay, so let's just make sure, oh, go ahead.
Mr. Green, you said that the ION part on that east side was taken care of already, or gonna be taken care of?
Yeah, Morrow County intends to apply to service the Ione School District. And so because those school district boundaries come into Gilliam County, but it's going to be under Morrow's application, their consortium will be responsible for servicing it. LS Networks and my firm are also assisting them with their applications. So the good thing in that is we can help facilitate a really easy technical exchange, and whether the service comes from their side of the county line or from your side, the funding will be part of their contract.
Do we have consensus on application for both school districts?
Yeah.
And consensus on needing a contract? Yeah.
Good with that, yes.
Okay. And one last thing, in the room just walked John Nyes, who is Arlington TV Co-op's manager. And so I will make sure that you, Mr. Green, have his contact because this is whose services are the city of Arlington.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Anything else for Mr. Green? Either commissioner? Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yes. Is
To Leah's point about Raleigh.
is this Catherine Griner?
Yes, I'm sorry, this is Catherine
Okay.
from the Correspondence. To Leah's point about Raleigh in part of the Condon School District, I know that Nick's contract and LSN's contract is not making sure that Raleigh gets fiber to the home, but is there some negotiation that can be done if they become the ISP for those underserved areas in the Condon School District, that we make sure that we get fiber to the home and not just fiber to the premise in the South County?
Yeah, I'll need to verify, Catherine, but I believe that's a requirement of their enhanced ACAM funding.
It's my understanding that they only have the requirement to get it to the premise, which a lot of our premises is our mailboxes, which is our half mile from the house. So I just want to make sure that when we go through all this, getting fiber to the home, that even though Raleigh has got it for the south end, that we are covered.
Okay, I will make a note to discuss that with them when we start talking about the ISP service contracts for the other areas.
Okay, and if you need any information about WindWave, the city's fibers, just let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to back up and ask if there's any public comment in the room. Is there anybody who wanted to comment? Oh, yes.
I just,
Come on up to the table, please. Okay.
what Catherine just mentioned about the South County is going to be for the North County as well, where the mailboxes are not next to the house.
Okay. Mr. Green, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to clarify, Marta Michaelo, who is a resident of rural, North County, would you please clarify that with the BEAD funding, how that differs from South County, potentially?
Yeah. The term they use in the industry is drops. And so the drop is basically the extension from the property line to the home itself. So usually touching some part of the home where you can go right into wherever your modem is going to sit inside your house. And under the BEAD grant, we have to do the drops as part of the cost proposal. And to finalize or close out the BEAD grant award, they will test and certify that the residents actually have the service. So they're gonna measure it to ensure that you have a minimum of 100 by 100 megabytes per second service speed. And of course, we're going to have gigabyte tiers in this package, but they'll actually test it. So BEAD includes to the home with the price of the drops as part of the proposal.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, I'm going to move up Paul Wilson first, and then you can get back to work. This is Paul Wilson, Waste Management.
Making me go back to work. All right, good morning.
Morning.
Some numbers from waste management numbers for you for the calendar year 2024, and then the final quarter for for 2024. The final quarter numbers for tons, we did 676,000 tons in the fourth quarter of 2024. Host fees paid to Gilliam County in the fourth quarter were 1.3 million. Total volume for 2024, 2.6 million tons in the landfill last year. And then host fees paid to Gilliam County for 2024 were $5,170,934. As far as some site updates, we finished the year with 15 OSHA reportable injuries. We're not proud of that one. We're working on several things as far as focusing on what those incidents were, the top causes of our issues and those kind of things, education, training, and some other things we're rolling out this year to try to lessen those injuries, of course. The RNG plant is, construction is progressing. They've got buildings up, vessels up. It looks like it's actually taking some shape. So it's going forward. We did get a new flare installed. It is not running yet. They're still working on some things, getting the plant going and doing some testing to get that going. And then cell 17 construction has started last in this winter. And then we have a new contractor out that's contracted to move 1.8 million tons of soil to get that cell started. So they're moving equipment in now, and then they'll begin that construction here as it warms up a little bit. Chem waste numbers. For their 2024 volume was 155,000 tons last year. They paid 183,000 in host fees. Their safety was incredible last year. They had one OSHA report. So they did an excellent job with their safety last year. Their parking permit renewal is still ongoing, and they have added an autonomous excavator program over there. So in their active area where they process certain things in what's called an SU bin, where they put material in and then stabilize it with other material. So normally the operator would sit in an excavator over that bin, about from me to you, up to the edge of it, and stir that material. So your operator's sitting in the cab with a respirator, safety gear on and everything, he's stirring the material. So we partnered with Caterpillar and they made that excavator unmanned, autonomous. So now that operator sits in a trailer about on the other side of the site with remote control, has all the same levers, TV screens in front of him, pedals. We can move the excavator and stir the material. He's somewhere else, so he's completely away from any kind of exposure or any issues that comes with it. So that they're very proud of that right now. And Cat is looking at some other things. Of course, everyone's kind of into the autonomous thing, which is still down the road a ways. But what they're doing next door is made a huge difference in just keeping the employees away from certain areas that they don't need to be.
When did you guys get that started this year, right?
Just last year, yeah. So just in the last 4 or 5 months.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
We're always hiring, it seems like. I know we've got Chem Waste is hiring operators, they have some management positions over there. And then we have been trying to find some laborers, and the shop is always looking for certified mechanics. So, and that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
What's the RNG plant construction be done?
So they're talking about having it actually running by fourth quarter of this year.
Okay.
So they've had some delays. So I think it's put them back about 4 or 5 months. They've had some delays. So that's kind of what we're hearing. They're not giving us exact times, but it's fall that they plan to be running.
We also have a meeting next week to
Yes.
start communicating about the host fee agreement and the conditional use permit.
Okay.
So that's in the works.
Right, and then we get you out for a tour, of course.
Mhm.
As soon as you can, with the RNG plant going up and those kinds of things, it's lots of roads out there.
Oh,
So,
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
How do we start that? Just initiate it, or would you
just
invite
give
us?
me a call when it works
Okay.
out for all of you, if all of you want to be on the tour, or if we can't do that, we can do separate or whatever.
Okay.
We could do a quick one next week too, if you wanted to. We could do
Okay.
it on around.
Start.
Yeah.
Yes,
I have a question, Paul.
this is Dewey Kennedy.
Oh, the transmission line for the gas plant, that was supposed to start in August of last year.
The pipeline?
The pipeline?
Yeah, I have no update on that. Leah Shannon is still the project manager for that project. Leah,
Oh,
yeah, she's still the project manager for that project. But they, I haven't heard no updates.
Okay.
on start times or anything.
the engineers themselves.
I did see something that they have agreed with one other landowner, which I think was part of what they were trying to negotiate. So I think there may be some progress on that.
Okay.
Okay, good.
All right.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Chet Wilkins, Gilliam County Assessor, Tax Appeal Update.
Morning.
Morning.
So yes, our Pacific Core Avangrid appeal, Department of Revenue. We went to our Assessor Tax Collector Conference last week, or the week before last, and I was able to meet with Rob Motley, the manager of the Department of Revenue's Utility Division, to discuss the current appeals with Pacific Core. And Pacific Core's case is currently awaiting trial in the Oregon Supreme Court, while the Avangrid is in the beginning stages of the appeal process. So I learned that Delta Airlines is arguing a very similar case to both the Pacific Core and Avangrid case, and their arguments have already been heard by the Supreme Court. So that was good news that maybe our appeals will move quicker than they have in the past. Let's see. Depending on the outcome of the Delta Airlines decision, it could pave a way for a pre-trial settlement of both appeals for us, so it could come within the next year or two that we have a decision instead of, you know, the worst case scenario where it could be out there 10 years. We're already 5 years into the Pacific Court case, so hopefully we'll get a decision sooner than later.
Was 2020 the very first time
Yes,
Pacific Court actually
it was, and then this
filed an
is,
appeal for this?
yes,
something
and then
like
this is the first year for Avangrid.
Right, okay.
And Avangrid had told us that they were waiting to see the results of the Pacific Court case to see where they went with theirs, whether they pursued actually going to trial or settling, so. I don't know, if there are more questions about process or
Just frustrating.
it is, and I realize that withholding potential refund credits isn't the best for everybody, but it's the option that we have to make sure that we take care of all the taxing districts in the county. And, you know, it could be any district that had an appeal that this could affect. So, you know, big scheme of things, it's in the best interest of everybody to withhold the credits, but with any luck, we'll have a settlement sooner than later.
So rough question, but are they trying to proceed with maybe a better way to handle these sooner or down the road, or?
You know,
It's kind of out there, I know, but
so with the utilities, what they do is the state values the company as a whole in the state, their total state value, and then they apportion that out to the counties and the projects. So the fact, I know that it had been brought up that maybe we could add language to the SIP agreements that didn't allow them to appeal, but that's not how their value is initially. The full value is derived at they value the entire company and then apportion that out. So that would be a difficult avenue to.
you said it's statewide
Yeah.
and then per county.
Yeah.
So,
There's a helpful document that was produced by the Gilliam County Assessor's Office, which breaks down how the property taxes are collected and distributed and how the appeal and potential refund credit actually works. And it's a good document, I think, to reference if anybody wants to understand how it's done and why it's done.
yes, I think Kelly for producing that, because it's not an easy subject to try to explain. And I also included a one-page summary of the lower court's judgment for Pacific Court. So it gives us a better idea of what they're asking for and where we're at. But after talking to Rob, he thought that when the Delta judgment was actually presented, that maybe we would get some resolution to the Pacific Court. So that was encouraging.
Okay.
Oh, what was that time frame again? They thought
Oh, hopefully within a year or two. I don't.
it was, I don't know, it was 6 months or 12 months or,
Okay.
I mean, I know you don't know, but I was just, okay.
But sooner than the worst case scenario, which we've seen.
And the process that we utilize is a statutory process, and it's a state
It is.
standard. It's a state
law,
statute.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
So is this gonna be a problem with every single one of these companies roll off the SIPs?
No, that's a good question. And Rob didn't think so. The argument is whether intangibles are actually accessible and should be valued and taxed. And so that's what they're arguing, is whether the intangibles can actually be included in their value. So I think once we get some a judgment on whether that's true or not, that hopefully will keep us from having to go through this process again,
Okay.
like when Shepherd Flats comes off of this.
Okay.
And I also just,
Like in 2 years?
yes, and I had that conversation with Rob also, that maybe we could start the conversation with Brookfield about where they think they are with their values. And when I said we've been having the conversation with Avangrid, and that, you know, they weren't able to come up with an agreement. So that's why they had to go through the process of appealing.
Okay. All right. Anything else from the assessor?
We're trying. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chad.
Next on the agenda, 4.0 consent agenda, we have consider approval of bills pending review, budget calendar for fiscal year 2025-2026, Columbia Ridge Landfill Citizen Advisory Committee 2024 annual report, and consider approval of Amendment 14 to Oregon Health Authority Agreement for Financing of Public Health Services. We have any comments on the consent agenda?
Don't have any.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay,
I will second the motion.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Judge Patno, this is Brooklyn Griffith.
Yes,
Would you like me to go over my addition to the bills during this, since it's in the bills, or next meeting? I don't think we.
you could go ahead and address it now.
One of the things we had discussed as we were moving forward was getting our vendor payments online. They're currently posted to the bulletin board here in the courthouse every week when we pay AP. And then the next step was just getting them posted to the finance page. I think I can share my screen actually. So this is what we've done. We've just moved over some of the compensation and budget committee items, and then added 2 more spots, a place for us to hold our annual audits, which are not here yet. And then this bottom portion is called vendor summary reports pursuant to ORS 294.250. And then further down, they'll just go by month here. So it started in the fiscal year, and we will add these monthly and maintain that requirement.
Any comments?
Comments, other additions you'd like to see on there?
I think it's great, and I just want to thank you for working so hard for Gilliam County and helping get us where we are today with our finances and complying with that law and all that you've done.
So Brooke, how's the transition going?
Good. Arkansas transition is great. I did AP last week. Yesterday I met with Cortland to figure out all of our payroll side of things. So we've got good news there. I do an update at the county court at next meeting on the 5th. So I'll have more information there from the finance department during that update. But the transition is going well.
Thank you very much. Okay, we do not have any items under unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? No. New business. Consider approval of weed department request to attend pilot school for drone training. Michael Durfee. Come on up, Mr. Durfee.
Mike Durfee, I'm with the Gilliam County Weed Department. I spoke to you guys at the start of last summer, and you allocated some money that was left over from the Mormon Cricket project here to help get our drone project started at the Weed Department. We bought the drone and we bought the trailer to caddy it around. I still need to build the trailer out a bit. When the money was allocated, it was still during our very busy spray season. So I waited till the start of this fall, kind of our not as busy season, to start studying for my Part 107 pilot's license, a commercial pilot's license that you have to obtain before you can start flying a drone. So I've been studying on that, and Dewey Kennedy, the roadmaster, was at a conference where he met a company, met from a representative from General Pacific Drones out of Portland, who has a school
to help you pass your Part 107 pilots test. I contacted them and their cost is $800 to attend their school. And I'd studied for about 2 months on my own, off and on all of the knowledge, and it's a lot of knowledge. Looking into that, I got put on today's agenda, but if I had waited, I wouldn't have been able to get into the school until March. So actually last week, we paid for the school out of just our budget, the $800, and I went and I passed my test. So I've got that part. And then the second email, or the second piece of paper that I handed you guys is some correspondence with a lawyer out of Florida. And through my research and talking to anybody else who's doing these drone style projects for anything that you're be spraying pesticides out of, you have to have these waivers through the FAA. And it's a big, huge, arduous process. And everybody that I've talked to has told me you can't do it yourself to write and petition them for these waivers. Everyone goes through different lawyers around the country. This is one that I had recommended to me. It takes 30 to 60 days to get that waiver so that you can start spraying. And then on the second page, I highlighted we're over 55 pounds with full support, and that would cost another $3,000 to pay him to help us put together our plan and present that to the FAA so that it's all taken care of. A local farmer in South Gilliam County, Sam Bates, just bought a smaller spray drone. And I've been talking with him about his program that he's kind of starting up for himself and the insurance costs and everything else. And he looked into this too. And he was like, there's no way, don't try to do it yourself. And there is 2 different price points here. The one of them's $1,500 for a 55 and over. And then that includes the petition, operators, and basic package. The $3,000 one, that's what everybody has told me that I should go with through my research. But that's what I was coming to ask the court about today. We talked about how after I bought the drone and the trailer, there was still money left over from the original $64,000, but I think it went back into the general fund at the end of the year. I'm not sure how all that works, but you just told me to come and talk about what other needs I might have, and you guys could make a decision if you make a line item for other costs that came up later. And these are some of the other costs. After I got my pilot's license, and then we put in for the Part 134 waiver with the FAA. The only next part of my program that I have printed off the huge packet within my pesticide license. I have 3 different parts on it: regulatory weed, roadside, and laws and safeties. I'm gonna have to get an aerial applicator's license too. That test is only like $58. We don't need any money for that, but I do have to study for it and pass it. And so we're getting closer and closer.
Okay.
So is this annually you still have to recertify too, or is it like good for so many years? Or?
The pesticide one is, you don't have to recertify for those. You do, it's just like a little questionnaire online though. And same with the Part 107 is every 2 years. It's like a $50 recertification. So there is continuing education with all of those. All my pesticide license and the aerial pesticide license, you have to get 15 credits every 2 years. We go to a conference in Seaside that provides all those credits for us, but it's 15 credits, not per license, but like your pesticide license. And then they're starting to have some different drone training one. I know there's one going on, I think next week in Pasco on drone aviation stuff, but I won't need any of those credits for a couple of years.
Okay, all right. So the briefing that you included just included the
The school.
the school that you attended.
Mhm.
And what you're asking from us, is there a place in the budget that we can take that, so it doesn't have to come out of the weed budget, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
And, but can I also,
Mhm.
so it wasn't on the briefing,
Oh.
but the other part of that too, because I didn't realize that, I forgot to put that in the briefing. That other email, the other $3,000, if there's a place for that. Otherwise, we'll figure out the money.
Yes.
I've looked into, or I just found out about, CSI has some drone funding through our insurance program for it, and they have $1,000 allocated, so I gotta figure out how
Oh,
to
okay.
access that, and that'll cut some of this off.
Okay,
But, I will figure that out within the next week,
okay,
and I'll look into other grant opportunities for other projects too.
okay. All right, is there any other questions of Mr. Durfee?
No, we went this far.
Yes, yeah, I think that's a great thing, thank you
No problem.
for taking this on, that's great. Do we have a motion? And I guess my thoughts are, let's just take these expenses as they come. You know, the pilot school and then these additional expenses, maybe we can make a motion just to allocate those within the budget while working with the finance director to find a place for those. Are there any other thoughts or suggested motion?
So we're looking at the 800 and the 3,000, is that
Right.
correct? So basically you're looking for 38, right? Okay.
Do we need to make a motion to give the expenditure that was prepaid?
Yes.
Okay, so, cause it's different than what's.
Yeah, so, excuse me, we have the invoice. I don't think that it was paid yet.
The
It
800
hasn't
was
been.
paid, the 3,000.
Okay.
You
we
said it
just
came out of your
received
budget, so we don't really, since it came out of your budget, we don't.
It hasn't been paid yet. Sorry, I'm listening to that.
It's on my visa.
So we haven't allocated where it's going.
Oh, okay, all right.
So the 800's been already prepaid on the visa, so you're just looking for the 3,000.
Well.
He would like
You'd like to be
to
reimbursed.
allocate it in the
Okay,
budget, so it
38.
doesn't have a line item yet.
Okay.
So they just want to make sure that it can be absorbed within the budget. And I will work with the finance
So how
director
much
to
was
find a
left
place.
over from before?
There was about $12,000 left over.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, it can come from there.
After the purchase of the
Yeah.
drone.
After the purchase of the drone and the trailer.
So
Yeah.
we could just have that go towards that, wherever that landed.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna move to approve, the bill for Gen Pack drones in the amount of $800 for the pilot training. Okay.
I'll second that one. I'll make another one for the other one, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll second Leah's council.
It's been moved and seconded to approve payment of pilot school for Michael Durfee for drone operation. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And the expense of the $3,000, do we want to just absorb that within the leftover more?
That same money.
Yes, okay, we'll just take care of that way. And we'll
And then
approve the
if you get,
expenditure at the time.
If I get the $1,000, I'll try to get that before I pay for it. And
so when we can just backfill that back into, I move to approve the cost of the drone pilot school through Anzo Raptor Company and any associated cost accrued during travel to and from the location for Michael Durfee.
Second the motion.
I just want to clarify, was the drone pilot school, was it this one?
Yep.
Is it that one? Okay, so that's what we just approved.
Right.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the cost of drone pilot school, any associated costs incurred during the travel to and from locations, Michael Durfee. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, motion carries. All right, thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is consider approval of award for RFP for City Springs Road relocation engineering services. Dewey Kennedy Roadmaster.
Good morning.
Yes.
We had our mandatory meeting with the firms that wanted to do it. We had two, Tennyson Engineering out of the Dalles and Anderson Perry from LeGrand. Both attended. We got proposals back from both. Myself, Joey, office assistant, Brian Johnson, the new assistant roadmaster, and Commissioner Wilkins all went through them. They're both, for the most part, they're identical. They're both very qualified firms. They've done lots of work in our area and all over 2 states. We could probably choose either one. The only difference that I found in the two was Anderson Perry actually had a schedule.
A schedule.
Yeah, just roughly a time frame of when we would be ready to start construction.
Okay.
I don't know if
Time frame, the whole construction project, or
well, no,
it was
for their portion,
their portion.
Ready for construction.
Yeah, okay.
They were said we would be ready to start in September
Of,
of this.
okay, 2025. Okay. Right.
So I looked through for the costs.
Oh, there is nothing on either one, on any of them. It's all, and that was one thing that during our meeting we couldn't get them to really say what it was going to be. It was all going to depend on the I call them the dry lakes, the wetlands, the wetlands. Whether we have to go into any mitigation or anything like that, land survey, potential hiccups with any of that. It's just time, and it's everything will just be basically billed.
So if they're both pretty equal, what would be your preference? Because it's hard for us, it's hard for me to look at it.
And I really don't have a preference other than this one does have a time frame, has a schedule. That was that, when I scored them and I read through them multiple times.
Yeah.
Everything matched up. That's the only difference was they actually had a time frame in there when they would start and when they thought completion would be.
Yeah, they both have done projects in the area and stuff. Yeah, and to me, the first thing addressing is the environmental to make sure, we've got to.
Right.
Before we proceed, but, so as far as cost from either firm, we really don't know.
We really don't know. We have the estimate that I used to put into my budget last year was actually an estimate from Tennyson.
Okay, estimate for the whole project?
No, just for
that. Oh, for their engineering. Okay.
Just for this.
And how much was that?
That was 500,000.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All right.
that's what was budgeted last year to move forward with this.
Just for the engineering.
Just for the engineering, yes. Total projects like with the engineering is like 3.2 million.
Right.
Now
With the
with this and with the costs that have gone up.
Okay.
And that's with the department doing the work,
Yes.
not an outside contract.
That's with us and the local assistants, what I call our Jeep truck drivers and stuff like that, that we'll utilize as much local help as we possibly can.
I'm sorry, which one did you say had the schedule?
Anderson.
Anderson Perry,
Yeah.
We have any further discussion, any questions?
Yeah, yeah, I guess my only thing is the cost. I understand. I just thought that they would be able to give us a kind of a target, I guess, for lack of a better word.
And actually, that's what I was looking for myself. And, talking to both firms, which I have, I want them to do the environmental stuff first, before they do any land survey, any of that stuff, to make sure that there's not gonna be a hiccup that's gonna stop us.
Right.
Because I don't wanna spend any money if we're not gonna build a project. So let's go through the wetlands. If there's any critters, bugs, whatever out there that's gonna be in our way, make sure that there's nothing's gonna trip us up before we do pay for a land survey, the construction, staking, stuff like that. And they both understood,
Yeah.
they didn't want us to spend that money on either if we didn't have to.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how we award something without the legal ramifications of cost or like phase one or phase two, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
And
is,
this is my first one also.
So I understand, Perry, their time frame, they were ready to go this fall, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
I guess my only main question is awarding the RFP with an open number, I guess. So I don't know what the legal ramifications are, or maybe there isn't. That's my only concern right now, I guess, our main concern.
Okay, Commissioner Wilkins?
I don't know. I can understand why that, they don't want to be, tied down to a number in case they run into huge problems. It's pretty flat through there, so.
Yeah. The only hiccups are gonna be
The wetlands.
the dry lake beds.
I just
Which
think
are they even wet right now?
that they are a little bit now.
A little bit.
Yeah, normally it's the big one right as you first go is the one that has. Yeah.
Tim's like,
Yeah, yeah, they
not
have.
gonna be water skiing on that.
There was ducks on it the other day.
Yeah.
Can we go back and ask them to give us a not to exceed amount? Or an amount per phase?
Yeah, I do, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have
Do you think you-
starting,
Do you think you could reach out to legal counsel and ask that question? And then come back the next meeting and make a decision?
I think that we need to, because
Okay.
I don't know how we can legally just say, okay, yeah, go, when we really don't know. Not to exceed or,
right,
yeah, so I guess my feeling to visit with legal a little bit about this, and maybe they have a suggestion how to proceed. I shouldn't take too long, I would think.
Right.
Talk to the procurement attorney. Because we followed all the rest of that,
Yes,
so.
they, yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Right.
They have notice to proceed February 20th
Mm-hmm.
of this year, and final design package in September.
Okay.
We should be able to get something back by
The
the
next
next meeting in
first meeting in February?
February 5th.
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be soon enough, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sure this isn't the first time this has happened to an entity, and there's gonna be an answer that,
Right.
Well, we just want to do it right, go
yes,
forward.
okay.
We want to make sure.
So we're gonna table a decision until February 5th with, legal counsel, consultation regarding the amount of the bid.
Do you want to reach out to them at the same time? So
Since you're the road department
Yes,
Reach out and see if they have a fee schedule.
yes, and maybe they have something else besides, I mean, like say what comes to my mind is a phase,
Mm-hmm.
your environmental,
Right.
your engineering,
Well, it'll be,
however.
yeah, it'll be the environmental work, and then it'll be the land survey, and then.
I mean,
going from there.
I guess that, I mean, we could spell it out, I guess that way is a better way maybe to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, so I think we have a few more questions before
Yeah.
we move forward.
Okay, so
Right.
it'll be on the agenda for February
Okay. Yeah.
5th. Is it February 5th, our next meeting? Okay, all right.
I'll catch up with both of you later. And
Yeah,
do you have anything else besides procurement? Yeah, I just.
okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Dave.
Right, thank you.
Hey, Brooklyn Griffith, consider employment transition. This is regarding payroll, non-exempt, employee pay structure.
Yes, like remove my papers, sorry. It was brought, I guess, to the county court, not necessarily my position. I've just been accumulating all of the responses I've gotten, the correspondences. From the sheriff's department originally in transitioning their deputies from hourly positions to salaried positions. That was where the conversation got started. Once that conversation got started, a few of the other departments also kind of jumped in. I have not talked to all departments that this could affect. This is the very beginning stages of this. I just wanted to begin a discussion with you guys. The document that I provided kind of recaps who I've talked to. Anya and myself are on like an HR list with all the other counties in Oregon. So I pushed this question out to them. There's responses from several counties there, as well as our labor lawyer, plus the union, plus other departments. So really, I'm just pushing it back to the county court to see if this is something that you guys are interested in pursuing. If you guys have any concerns or any other questions, this transition has the potential to affect, I think it's 19 employees that currently have a full-time FTE and are in an hourly position.
I just want to clarify my understanding, and please correct me if I misunderstand. In essence, we're taking the hours that an employee would work in a given year and then dividing that by 12. And so we're giving them even paychecks. They're still hourly employees, but they're not accounting for their hours and being paid for the hour that they worked in a given month. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the biggest request for this transition, is so that the employees can better budget their own personal finances. They would be receiving that consistent 173.33 hours each month. Right now, the way that they're paid, their monthly salary can range from 160 hours to 190 hours, which for those of us that do budget our personal finances can be a little bit more difficult to do. It's easier to process payroll with an exceptions-based model, meaning they would just go in there and enter any like sick leave, vacation, comp time used hours. The rest of it is just auto-filled within PayPro. They also, right now, the way the system is, they just bulk enter their overtime hours. But PayPro is a very in-depth program that if that was a point of concern for you guys, that it would be harder to track their overtime, we can make that like a request. How an employee requests sick leave or vacation, it would be an overtime request, so that the supervisor has to go in there and say, yes, I know they worked 3 hours of overtime on this day, I'm approving that overtime, instead of them just being able to enter it and then the supervisor approving it at the end of the month. It would be like an as and it occurs type thing.
So they would actually approve it before, right? Not any overtime or
Yeah,
Is that what-
throughout the month. So let's just take the sheriff's office, for example. If they had a deputy who normally works 10 hours a day, and then on a Tuesday they worked 2 additional hours or were called back to work, they would just go into PayPro and submit those 2 hours to their supervisor as overtime earned. And then again, the supervisor has to approve the timesheet at the end of the month as well. So it's really like 2 verification methods there for their overtime.
I support that.
Um,
Commissioner Watkins, do you have any input?
I'm all about making everything simpler, so.
At the ESD, when I did payroll, this is how the instructional assistants were paid. It's much easier to process payroll as long as there's the oversight for accounting for hours by the supervisor. I'm comfortable with it.
I think
And
that's the
Brooklyn,
Mhm.
Brooklyn, we didn't have anybody that was not for it, or questioning it.
not heard any pushback, but I also have not gone to every department and to every employee that this would affect. You know, like we hit the biggest employers, which would be the sheriffs and the road department, weed department. They're all for that transition. So that's the biggest lot of employees in there. As well as when the move made for a lot of the deputy or excuse me, the department managers or directors to salaried positions, there was, I believe it's 3 departments that were left at hourly. Sorry, I've had so many phone calls this morning. That they were getting. Sorry, now that lost my train of thought. I got distracted there. Jeez.
You said 3 departments.
Oh yeah, the 3 departments that had managers were left at hourly. And I don't know if Commissioner Watkins, if you have any insight into that as to why those positions weren't moved to salaried when the other positions were, or if there's any concern there. But I do know that those department leads are also interested in that transition.
Yeah, the only one I can think of is the transportation, which those would still have to be left at, their part-time drivers would have to still be left as hourly.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, anything that's under a full-time FTE we're not currently looking at. I mean, I have that ability to do within PayPro, but right now we're looking at full-time hourly employees to salaried positions.
Yes, and does this require any action?
Not this right now. I really just wanted to hear from you guys that you're okay with moving forward, because now we go to the union. You know, we put together, since the CBA is affected, we'd put together an MOA with the union, which they have to work on, and, you know, we'd send that to our lawyers to make sure that looks good. And then it would come to you guys for approval, an MOA through the union, plus just some sort of action item or
resolution.
Something for us, for the non-union employees, but so nothing necessarily to approve right now. I just wanted, since you're all together and we can have an open discussion, to have an open discussion. And if there was you guys had any concerns, just to talk about that. And then once you guys, if you do decide to move forward, then we'll go about creating these policies. And then within the next couple of meetings, we'll come back with something to approve.
Yeah, and then we would need to do the job descriptions too, unfortunately.
Yeah, they would all have to sign some sort of personnel action form that just states what day this takes effect. If there and any other changes like that, but that's, you know, create a template and then just remake it 19 times if we need to, and that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Has everything been hourly before forever, or?
To me, it sounds like that's how it's always been entered.
Yes.
They've always been hourly, and then I think there was some positions moved to salaried and.
Yeah, it's always been that way, and I think it's just a situation, if it's always been the way it's been done, and just no consideration for ever making a change until recently, so.
Yeah, and this came from the employees. This did not come from us here at the county court level like that. This came from the employees as something they're interested in doing, so we're just trying to support our employees and see what we can do to help.
And they base their annual hours on the 2,080 or whatever it is.
Yeah, but full-time FTE is 2,080 hours, and then salaried is 173.33.
That's what that breaks down into.
I'm in support of moving forward. Is everyone else?
Yeah, I'm good with it. Sounds like Brooklyn, sounds like it'll be simpler for a lot of people and
Are you comfortable, Commissioner Watkins?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Brooklyn. Keep working on it. Thank you. All right, consider approval of pole attachment agreement with Pacific Quorum. Okay, this was a long time coming. This is part of the fiber project. Pole setting agreement was required with each electric utility. Columbia Basin Electric was fairly simple. It's a local co-op. It's been agreed to by the county court previously for several months. It's in place. Pacific Core was a little bit more cumbersome. It's a corporation, it's a huge corporation. Their agreement was much more detailed. It has gone through legal counsel. It has gone through the consultant Nick Green for review. It has gone through John Anderson, our insurance company. He worked with Pacific Core's insurance, so it's been months, but we have to have the pole agreement in order for rural fiber to occur in North Gilliam County because Pacific Core is your utility. So it's before you. Open for questions. I've had everybody that I know who is an expert look at this to make sure it's a good agreement. Met with the representative. She's very busy. Diana, Anya, do you remember her last name? I can't remember her last name, but she worked with us on this back and forth for months. So we finally have it. Winchester, Diana Winchester.
I noticed there was motion too. Is there a reason we would want to deny this or just?
No,
I say I move to approve the pole attachment and joint use agreement between Pacific Corp and Gilliam County and to authorize the county judge to finalize and execute the agreement.
I will second the motion.
it's been moved and seconded to approve the pole agreement and joint use agreement between Pacific Core and Gilliam County. And to authorize the county judge to finalize and execute the agreement. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
That's gonna beat you to the motion.
Okay.
I'm like, after all that, what the, is there a reason we would deny it?
No, no.
Okay.
Okay, the last item on the agenda is on the back of the agenda. If anybody is looking at that, just on the back as opposed to a page 2. Consider requesting proposals for legal counsel. I brought this to you over the last 7 months that I've been here. I found that we have a lot of legal issues that we have had before us. We have some potential growth in the county. We need expertise in tax incentive programs for businesses that will be proposing those to the county. I would like to see us proceed with requesting proposals for legal counsel, including additional general legal counsel with expertise in tax abatement programs through Business Oregon. So is there any input, thoughts, discussion on that subject?
So you're just looking for proposals for different attorneys with expertise in the areas that we need.
Right.
Not necessarily one to sit here and try to advise us on everything.
No, but one who may be available in case we need some advice. One that may come and help us in an executive session and be here in person if we need it.
Well, my experience has been that, you know, if we have something on the agenda that we think we might need experience, but a lot of times you can get them to appear via Zoom, right, or otherwise. So
yeah,
I mean, I don't have a problem with getting legal counsel that their expertise is in the areas that we need, because
yeah,
you can get yourself in a pickle by using somebody that
right.
is guessing.
Exactly. And one of the issues I faced is, our current strategic investment program agreements, they're 15 years old. The people that negotiated those agreements aren't here anymore. 15 years is a long time and you don't have any basis for how those agreements were negotiated. And we just need, we need some guidance.
Yeah, because some of those were probably clear back when Will carried.
Exactly. Yeah. So I just, would like approval to proceed with, RFPs for legal counsel.
I'm good with it.
Do we know who like Sherman County uses or
Yes.
Morrow?
Okay, yes, I've reached out to both.
Okay.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get some proposals from those.
Yeah, because
Mhm.
Morrow County has a lot of stuff going on.
Yes,
That they probably,
right. Also reached out to Wasco County as well,
okay.
because they have the same, you know, same things.
Sherman and Moscow, yeah.
Mhm. Sherman, Morrow, Wasco, Umatilla. I've reached out to Umatilla as well. So, okay, I'll go ahead and proceed. And of course, you will, we'll be approving those when they come through. Thank you. All right, is there any announcements? Commissioner updates?
So I sat through the Eastern Oregon caucus call. There wasn't one this week, there was one last week. They're looking at what, like over 3,000 bills and counting that are gonna be moving through the legislature. But one of them I thought was interesting was the idea that every county would have a senator. So, and I think right now we have 26 senators or represent down there, so that would make it be 36. And the eastern counties would have a lot more representation.
Is there traction with that one?
I don't know, but
Okay.
they brought that up, so. And then the same old, you know, housing, homelessness, all those are still on the table.
Okay.
And then I sat through the NORCOR meeting. I think they are figuring their way through the budget this year, maybe.
So the problem may come up next year.
Probably, I think it's gonna be an ongoing problem, but I think it sounded to me like from what I listened to is they're trying to figure out how they can be competitive with being able to get other entities to bring people in to put in the beds that they can charge them for.
Contracts.
It's getting very competitive.
So. Sounds like they're trying to stay away from, you know, going out for bonds or other things. I think that's what I got out of it, so.
Yeah, they're in just survival again for this year and with, not filling some vacant positions that are there. And, yeah, so.
So, and then the last thing I was wondering if, we, at the end of our, town hall in Condon, I think the question came up of how an endowment would operate, and I was wondering if the court would be open to me contacting the gal that does the Oregon Community Foundation and to have her just appear on Zoom to ask those questions, because I don't know all the answers to those either, how those operate. I do know that they put all the funds together and that makes the funding more stable. And it's a lot of times about 5% that they're getting for the interest on those funds, so. But, I mean, it would just be for information only to, and I'm, if you guys are open to it, then I would figure out how to see if she had time to appear on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm open to information.
No, information's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll get a hold of Kaylin and try to remember what her name is and see if I can contact them. And see if they do it on the 5th.
Okay. I'd also like to know what what their fees would be. And also find out what interest we could earn if the county, if we still had an endowment and the county retained those endowment funds rather than turn them over to another person. So that we're looking at all
Well, I think
options.
my problem with it is I think if the endowment is within the county, then there's no opportunity for people to go out and fundraise and add to that endowment because we're a county entity. And that's one of the things they're gonna lose if we, if we do it similar to what, like the rebate,
Yeah, I just want to make sure that Gilliam County services are funded and we're not relinquishing $1 million a year. That if we end up in a funding crisis, we do not have a crystal ball and things look good today. But tomorrow you never know, that our priorities have to fund Gilliam County services first. And we make sure that we protect that while still potentially assisting with an endowment and make sure that we're protecting Gilliam County and the decisions that we make. And I'm open to listening to any options. I just want to make sure that we're making good, solid decisions and not tying into relinquishing $1 million for a year for, then we could get out of it if we wanted to, potentially. I guess maybe would be a concern for me. So.
which I go back to it, the whole reason we wanted to do that was so if down the road that funding does become a problem, that they will have something to fall back on. Because we're gonna give that, the childcare, say, we're gonna fund you, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we don't have enough funds to run Gilliam County, sorry, you're done. So then what do? We got childcare that shut down in Gilliam County and other funding. And the problem with putting childcare into a line item on a budget is that then are we gonna have, is Summit Springs gonna want a line item? Is it the school district's gonna want a line item? Where do you stop? And, you open Pandora's box and then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we can further discuss that. I think we will need to probably budget time, all of that. But I'm opening to listen to what, if it's Oregon Community Foundation, whoever it is.
The only reason I looked at them is because they're the ones that are doing the Common Dollars for Scholars, and they seem to be pretty stable.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Wilkins, do you have any updates?
No, just the Korea meeting I attended last month. Mike McCarthy is the executive director. MacArthur, excuse me.
Yeah.
And James Williams is the new executive director. And
they hired?
Yes.
Okay.
And Mike I had lunch with him the other day. Always any questions, he's reach out to him, he's there to help. And
Okay.
So Mike Williams, where is he from?
James Williams,
James Williams.
Lake County.
Oh, Lake County.
He's a commissioner down there? Used to be?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. We had our town hall meeting in Condon. I think it was good. We took our first stab at it. We had a visioning session virtually to get some input from the community on various subjects. One of them was childcare. One of them was livability. How's the county court doing, and future development projects community would like to see. So we had focus areas, and then we had an open 20 minutes for people to address us. The next town hall is February 11th here in Arlington, upstairs in the Gronquist building. Food will be provided and it'll be at 6:00 p.m. I went to the governor's State of the State address last Monday and went to AOC, or Association of Oregon Counties, and learned how the office functions, met all the legal counsel, all the staff. Gina Nicolas, who's the executive director, I've had contact with her. She's very helpful. learned where to park when we go to Salem during legislative session, so we have easy way in and out. Went to county college this last weekend. That was the first weekend. There will be a February session. This last county college was in Corvallis. There'll be a February session, an April session, a May session, and a June session, all in Salem at AOC. So knowing how to get around is good. So I have all that figured out now. Learned a lot, got to know all the new county commissioners, judges, learned about different styles of government structure. It varies across the board, how that's working in other counties. Learned about our obligation to provide mandatory and statutory government services, and then extra services that we want to provide. We have funding and the means. Heard from attorney from Benton County who was very good. We went over open meeting law. The training that's coming up for open meeting law, I've already qualified for that, and the date on that.
Tomorrow at 5 at the Memorial Hall, but you have to sign up. And if anyone wants to.
Oh, wow, that came fast.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared.
There was-
Okay.
And there's one from 1 to 3:30. That's ethics training from 1 to 3:30, and there's gonna be pizza and salad. And then from 5 to 7, I think it is public records.
Gosh, I thought that was next week. Okay.
Yeah, it's tomorrow. I know it came fast.
Okay, so county college is good, linking up with other counties. There's no better resource for us than others who are doing the work, I think. That's what I found in my experience as justice of the peace. And interesting, there's 2 new county commissioners. One's 28 years old and one's 29 years old. And I have high hopes for the future. They're gonna be go-getters, and we might have a representative or governor in the room I was in, so coming up, so.
Which counties were they from?
They were, Morrill County, Gus
Oh,
Peterson,
Okay, he's that.
Augustus, yeah, and, I believe it was Yamhill. But don't quote me on that, yeah, so,
Yeah, I think so.
was it?
I think so.
Okay. Anyway, county college, working on a lot of things coming up, waste management, working with the city of Arlington on some upcoming developments later today. And the fiber, the road, have a lot going on, good stuff. Budget season's coming up, so, right? Is there anything else? Okay, no further business, meeting is adjourned.